I think that pretty much says it, don't you? I don't think anybody is giving 2020. You know what? I'll give 2020 a little bit of a thumbs up because I got my health as good as it could possibly be. I got my better half inside. I got my family, both behind the scenes, and all of you tuning in. Much love, everybody. It is Friday night, November 6th, 2020. I am back once again. This is the Don Tony Show. I am Don Tony as always. Feeling a little bit better. I want to thank everybody for the well wishes and the shout outs. Not only was I physically under the weather, but I'm not going to lie to you. I am absolutely drained with what's going on with our election. And I really don't want to talk too much about it right now because, the election is not over until it is over. All right. And I know that's a little bit cliche to say, but a lot of you out there were probably not born or too young to remember what happened in 2000. It took us 36 days after the election to determine who was the winner and president. And not only that, when you had all this controversy with Florida with hanging chads and this and that, I got news for you. I know a lot of you out there have been really asking me to give my thoughts on everything that's gone on, who I voted for, and this and that, and I have kept politics out of the shows. Obviously, sooner or later, I'm going to have to comment about it because it is a very important moment of, my friends in the United States, but it also affects other countries as well. But I will tell you this right now, and this is probably the best way for me to go forward with this. There's an old saying, a legendary, I think 16 or 17 time heavyweight champion once said, to be the man, you gotta beat the man. Woo! Well, to be the man, you have to beat the man, not cheat the man. Do I think Joe Biden cheated in this election? No, I do not. But the thing is, and this is what people need to understand, this is why in the past, I always said the Seth Rollins storyline kind of reminded me of politics a little bit towards Trump. And I'm not supporting one person, bashing anybody tonight. I'm just making a point. When I talked on a lot of the Patreon shows, especially when I talked about Seth Rollins and how it reminded me a little bit about parts of our government, there are people in our government going back 4+ years who lied, who cheated, who committed crimes against Trump because they felt that of keeping Trump out of the presidency was for the greater good. So even though on paper it might have been illegal, it was a higher purpose, the greater good. So even though there were things, look, I don't need to get into the Russian dossier and all the other stuff and computers being bleach bit and all this other stuff going on. I'm not taking any sides right now. But let's be honest, everyone. If you don't think that there is corruption in this world, it doesn't stop with the ballot box. I have no idea what level of corruption is involved. I am one, though, that feels, because I remember 2000, that every ballot should be counted. And I also believe that if there is evidence of certain behavior, I think a recount should be, willing on all sides. Plain and simple. And when you start hearing stories about people not allowed to look at this, you got a postman who came out today and said that postman backdated and stuff like that. That's not out of the question. It happens in all other walks of life. It happens in banking, in finance, in insurance, in fraud, in conspiracy. And for a lot of people who and you saw the applications of 120-year-old people who requested a ballot and voted, they've been dead for 30 years. I actually went online today and I actually looked up Detroit and I researched every person who has been murdered under special circumstances or questionable circumstances by cops since 1984. And if you do your research, you'll find at least 4 of those people that were murdered, going back 37 years almost, that 4 of these people somehow came back from the dead, requested ballots, filled it out, and sent it in. So all I'm saying, everybody out there, is this. In 2000, way before social media, way before what we have now, a lot of people, including yours truly, thought that Al Gore won the election. And then with Florida and everything, all the controversy, 36 days later, George Bush was the president. But I will give everybody a little bit of advice right now. And I will tell you who I voted for in a moment. I'll give you a little bit of advice for anybody out there that is really fascinated or is very, very interested in what is going on right now. My advice to you is to start learning the Equal Protection Clause in the 14th Amendment. Start learning that 14th Amendment, because you're going to hear it 1,000,000 times in the very near future. Because the bottom line is the Equal Protection Clause is not just about voting. It's about equal rights and equal procedure for everybody in this country. Whether you're straight, gay, black, white, Asian, Italian, it doesn't matter. Everybody is treated the same. And when you get into the voting aspect, you can't have some counties do it this way, and you can't. That's where the controversy was with Florida 20 years ago. You know, some areas with the hanging chads, and then you had some where they didn't want to count ballots that nobody voted for a president, and then you had ballots where they voted for 2 people and this and that. So all I'm saying is that, does it look like Joe Biden is going to be our next president? Yes. What do I think about it? Exactly what I said the other day. I don't know what is going to happen over the next 4 years. Somebody asked me a minute ago about 2021. I don't know if my parents are going to be on this earth still. I don't know if I'm going to be on this earth still. All I know is that, especially after my cancer scare almost 2 years ago, I got those results, and when you see the words metastatic or whatever that crap is on your test results, trust me, that hits you like a ton of bricks. And I posted my test results online so people would not think I'm just tweet banging, being a Forrest Gump, because all the fake profiles out there and the fake lives that they've created. I posted online so everybody could see it. Thank God it ended up I don't have cancer. But the thing is that it makes you reevaluate certain things. And then my mom a couple of years ago, being clinically declared dead twice in the hospital, and then, getting engaged a year ago. And then I have people that are still trying to bring up, the DTKC stuff in there. I'm like, Jesus Christ, man. Look at what's going on in this world. I had a cancer scare 2 years ago. I got engaged last year. My mom's health is pretty fucking bad. My dad isn't doing all that well either. And I'm going to give a shit about, people, throwing shade at my way. I have made a concerted effort to go forward, just being happy and enjoying the things that make me happy the most. Spending time with her, spending time with my family, trying to get myself in a little better shape. Jesus Christ, the other day I bought boxer shorts. Now I feel bad if Amazon just reseals the plastic and puts it back up for sale, because then someone is going to be feeling my gonads very soon. But I ordered boxer shorts and I got them delivered yesterday. And I put them on and they felt like parachutes, and they were size large. Now, yeah, they kind of run a little bit big. Look at me. I'm very, very big boy, so it's not like I'm skinny or anything, but I actually had to return it to order mediums. I haven't worn medium boxer shorts than before even high school. So I'm doing the things that make me happy to try to prolong my life, try to spend as much time as I can with my parents, because tomorrow is never, promised, and I'm doing the things that make me happy. And that's it. Drama, out of my life. People that bring you down, out of my life. Controversy, what's those tabloid stuff? I'm not interested. So if Biden ends up being the president, so be it. So be it. Am I going to be one of these never Bidens? No, I'm just going to enjoy my life. Hopefully he doesn't fuck up my 4 years. Hopefully everywhere that I go, things aren't doubled in price. Hopefully gas prices don't go over $4 a gallon again in this and that. But for everybody who has been asking me in emails and DMs and sometimes on the chats, who did I vote for this election? Well, I will tell you this. I did vote. And some people are not going to like part of my answer. Did I vote for Joe Biden? The answer is no. Did I vote for President Trump? The answer is no. I voted Republican for all local people with the exception of one Democrat. His name is Joe Adabo, and he's a friend of the family. And he's one of those few Democrats that I actually really, really, am very comfortable with. I voted, and the reason why I voted, for the other tickets is because locally you have this one woman, Nicole Maliotakis, I think, or Maliotakis, something like that. She's very, very good. There's a few people that I really, really think will help New York. But also as far as Senate and some of those races there, I think keeping the Senate Republican, leaning Republican or in the majority will keep a balance with Biden. It'll keep a balance. Who knows, for the next 4 years, we may have just the opposite of what's been happening with Democrats and Trump. Democrats wouldn't do anything, wouldn't want to pass anything for Trump unless it was totally under their circumstances. But I will say this, and that's why I said on Wednesday, Andrew Yang, time to put up or shut up. And I like Andrew Yang. I have said that 1,000 times on the shows. I like Andrew Yang. But a lot of people don't understand when people are talking in politician mode. It kind of hits your strings, especially if you're a wrestler and you think he's going to change the world for pro wrestlers. Guy's a politician first. Let's see 1 year from now what Andrew Yang did. Let's see what he does. Personally, I don't think he's going to do anything in there. He's going to make it sound good, and he's going to say that he's trying to do things. The problem is, anybody that interviews Andrew Yang, what's your favorite color? What do you like to do? Who's your favorite wrestler? How long do you do this? How come they never say, how come WWE keeps winning in court? Nobody asks that question. Why? Because they want to get the follow-up interview with Andrew Yang. So what do you think of AEW? You looking hard at the high series? What do you think of the Undertaker retiring? That's what I have to say about that. So I voted for a lot of Republicans to keep a balance, but I did not vote for the presidency this year. Had nothing to do with New York. No chance of Donald Trump winning New York. The point is that I'm not happy with either guy, and I wasn't going to vote for either one. And that's what I did. So some people will be very happy. Some people will not. Just respect my decision. If you're that upset about it, what do you want me to tell you? Seriously, you want me to send you a Don Tony bobblehead? Would that make you feel better? So that's it. That's it. So, that's who I voted for. I'm very concerned, because my gut feeling tells me that there's going to be a decent amount of fraud uncovered, and it's not going to bring our country closer together. Whatever transpires is just going to break this country apart even more. I think we're going to have, I think Parler, when I was saying the other day that I subscribe to another social media that's similar to Twitter, but, they don't censor anything. I couldn't remember the name, and somebody had said Parler. I didn't check it, but that sounds right. But I think in the very near future, you're going to have an alternative for Twitter. You're going to have an alternative to Facebook. There's a couple out there already, but they haven't caught on as big as maybe people thought. And you're going to see, basically this competition here. I don't think this gets better in our lifetime. Because, when you have some genuinely good people, and simply because they're Republican, they're labeled this or labeled that, and on the opposite side as well, that's not going to just go away because you get what you want. You know, babies shut up when you put the nipple in the mouth with milk. You know, they could be crying for 3 hours. You put the freaking... It's putting Biden in office is not suddenly not going to put a nipple in people's mouths. This shit's going to go on forever. And I'll say one other thing, because a lot of people have been asking me this one question, and we'll move on. We'll move on. I definitely want tonight to be a quick show, because I'm going to be right back here tomorrow. I know people are like, no, seriously, because I did AEW predictions on Wednesday. So you could go check out Wednesday's show for that. I am going to do a recap tomorrow night for sure. So, you know, check out that for without a doubt. And then Sunday I do the Q&A. So I'm going to be here for, 5 straight days probably. Tonight, Saturday for AEW, Sunday Q&A, Monday Breakfast Soup Raw, Tuesday Breakfast Soup on Patreon, Wednesday Night Don-O-Mite. And once we know who our president is going to be officially, then we're going to do a special show, you know, on Patreon. And for one night only, it'll be myself, Kev Castle, and Mish. You know, we're going to talk together. But, you know, for everybody that's I said this, you know, with all due respect. I'm not trying to tease anybody. I'm not trying to give anybody hope of, you know, reunions of hosts and stuff like that. No, we're doing a one thing, and that's it. So, and I'm not trying to be nasty by saying that, okay? So, but I'll say this one thing now, and we'll move on. If Trump loses, okay, I blame it on 100 things. A lot of it has to do with Trump. Some of it doesn't. But 2 things stand out to me more than anything else. A little bit has to do with Charlottesville, but just to give you the 2 things that stand out to me. Trump's number one problem, and this goes way before he ever became president. Trump's number one problem is this. Trump sees the country, as far as a bottom line, sees it like a business. And, you know, when people hear that, oh, he took these rights away from transgender, he took the rights away from this, or he did this and did that, it's not because, and I truly believe it's not because he hates gays or anything. His thinking is everybody should be treated equal. Every single person should be treated equal. Doesn't matter if you're black or you're white or you're straight or you're gay. Everybody should pay the same tax based on your income, not on your gender. Everybody should have the same rights. You know, like if you're transgender and you're in the military, why should citizens pay for the transgender, the sex surgery, whatever it is? You know, if someone else, it's got to be equal for everyone. And I get that. I'm not saying I agree with it, but I get that logic. But here's the problem. Do I think there's systemic racism in the United States of America? No, I don't. Do I think that there is a small, very small percentage of people in our country who are hardcore racist, black, white, both sides? Absolutely. The problem with Trump is you have to show empathy. You can't just treat everybody as if they're not the same, as if they're the same color. You know, when Charlottesville happened and he made the comment that he thinks there's good on both sides, you got to watch the whole thing. Then you realize that what he said, it didn't come out the right way, but it's not that he was trying to say that some racists are good people as well. Okay, let me finish before you get upset. Problem is, when it comes to cops, he is law and order, and he is for police. That's why he was supported by all the police across the country. But he left out the same mindset when he said what he said about Charlottesville. Instead of saying, look, there without a doubt is a very small percentage of cops that may have, you know, racism in their heart, intimidation, judging people, prejudging people. But the overall criminal justice system is not racist. Instead of acknowledging the fact that there are, and you don't wait for a tragedy to make comments similar. You have to just say, look, it doesn't matter if you're a fireman or a deli person or a banker or a cop. There is a very small percentage of our country who is racist, and we got to try to eliminate that. But instead, law and order, law and order, law and order, law and order. And it's very insensitive. Just because you acknowledge that black people in majority of cases are prejudged simply because of color of their skin or the outfit that they're wearing, that doesn't mean you're anti-police. It doesn't mean that you're trying to label everybody. And that's something that has really bothered me for years and years with Trump. You see on social media, and I've brought it up before, there are people out there who slowly over the past bunch of years have traded in their actual lives for a social media profile. And you read their profile, they're getting laid every day. They're rescuing animals from trees, from roofs, from death, from this. They got this. Oh, they helped this person. They rescued an old lady. They gave mouth to mouth to this. I mean, just everything. And when that wears away, then it's, hey, everybody, I'm not feeling well. My pet doesn't feel well. My butt, say a prayer for this, say a prayer for that. And it's just for that craving for attention, that craving of feeling relevant. And a lot of people have traded in the real life. That's why you never see any physical picture documentation of any of the claims that these people make. None, zero, especially if you're on social media, especially since you're liking everybody else's pictures and everybody else's videos and everybody else's proof. And then you post yours and you show nothing. That's usually a telling sign that they're full of shit. But the thing is this, when it comes to, mental health, sometimes, even though you may not care about someone, not saying to be cold, but even though somebody may just be a little bit, having withdrawal systems on social media and trying to get attention to themselves, and, they're not on the brink of it, but they did do it to get some hits. Sometimes the right thing to do is to respond and say, hey, man, I'm just thinking about you. Hey, man, I got you, you in my prayers. Because for you, it might not be any big deal. And for you, you might even say, what the fuck do I even need to say this for? But for someone else, it may mean a lot. And the problem with social media is it's very, very difficult sometimes to tell who is legit and who is just having a little bit of withdrawal, that they're not getting the attention that they usually get. So sometimes you got to just show compassion. Even if you don't feel it in here, you got to show compassion. And, there was a lot of compassion missing from Trump. And I think that's probably his number one issue. So, but we'll leave it at that for now. Let's talk about SmackDown. We're going to talk about the ratings. Did you see all the goofs yesterday? I swear to God, for every person who made a big deal that that NXT or AEW didn't make the top 50, seriously, they all need to get laid. And a cucumber and an empty toilet paper roll does not count. No fucking shit that news was going to dominate. And the funny thing is, how many of these absolute morons that were all tweet fucking about, they didn't make the top 50. 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 And then the ratings came in, and the ratings were similar to in the past. Then they're like, oh, I didn't think they was going to score that high, because they don't have a fucking clue on how the ratings work. They don't have a fucking clue. Just because you didn't make the top 50 doesn't mean you're only going to get 200,000 viewers. That means that an overwhelming, abnormal number of people were watching television at that time. That's why in the past, remember, for some of you older folk like me, remember in the past, Raw 3.1, Hour 1, 3.1. Hour 2, 3.5. Composite of 3.3. And then the following week, Raw went up. It went up for, last week was a 3.3. This week was a 3.7. Wow, they're doing better. And then you look a little bit closer, but wait a minute. They had less viewers this week. So how do they have a higher rating, but they had less viewers? These nimrods didn't even realize that less people were watching TV at that particular time. And WWE, because there were less people watching, they had a greater percentage of viewers that were watching their product. But people out there, when you get moments like yesterday, when AEW and NXT didn't make the top 50, you get moments like that yesterday, those are the goofs that when I say they don't know a goddamn thing about ratings, they think they know because of demos and numbers. They don't know gots. They know nothing. But when I get into the quarter hours, we will look at the trends. Starting to see it big time with Cameron Grimes. Sooner or later, they're going to have to give up on that project. Cameron Grimes, over 120, 130,000 viewership drop across 2 quarters with his match with Kushida. It's not very good. And Cameron Grimes, although we love that haunted house match, you know, you go back to normalcy, fans are just not into that guy. Some other wrestlers, and at one point, NXT actually did a higher rating than AEW in a quarter or two. So when you see the overall rating, and you're like, wow, AEW really gave it to NXT, and then you realize it was a quarter or two where NXT had a higher number. You realize at one point, more fans were tuning into NXT instead of AEW. So we'll get into that a little bit later. Yeah, I agree, One Fall. I'm actually starting to appreciate Cameron Grimes a little bit. But for some reason, he doesn't have that connection. Timothy Thatcher, and I've brought this up before, Timothy Thatcher, unfortunately, you know, he's getting a little bit more attention online. I think some people are, but a lot of people think he's Drew Gulak light. You know, like he looks like a combination of Drew Gulak or Aiden English. You know, he's got that, I mean, yeah, he's got the missing tooth, and yes, he is a phenomenal technical wrestler. He is a tough son of a bitch. But the thing is, you know, stretching people out, you know, how many people out there, you know, really are into the stretching people? What, the 50 and over crowd? Seriously? You know, there's a lot of people out there that just want to see a video game match. You know, just crazy moves, be entertained, nonstop action. Holy shit, I can't even catch my breath. And here's this guy, and I'm not dissing Timothy Thatcher. I like him. But you got this guy, oh, reversals. I mean, what demographic is actually going to be into that other than aspiring wrestlers? Hey, man, you got to put the TV on right now. Timothy Thatcher is showing everybody about reversals. Holy shit. Holy shit. And, oh, my God, it's Austin Gray. It sounds like a bath oil. Or, like I said, makeup. You go to a spa. Hey, what eyeshadow color would you like? You know, we're in the fall, you know, maybe like a bronze, like pumpkin. We're in the fall, the leaves changing colors. You know what? Why don't you give me that August gray? What is that? I mean, that's what you come up with? And like I said, you know, on Wednesday, for all we know, this might have a subliminal meaning. And if we find out later, that, you know, I don't know. But we'll talk about that. Undertaker. Let's get into this quickly. 30 years of Undertaker. We got the whole month for Undertaker. Undertaker. Not complaining. So now Survivor Series, it is going to be the final farewell for The Undertaker. Forgive me if I go back to my childhood when I was 10 years old for a minute. I swear to God, me and my friends used to do this when we were 10, but I actually need to do this right now. No, it's not picking my nose and licking it or, you know, anything like that. I just have to do this for a minute. Bullshit. Does anybody in their right mind think that they're going to have The Undertaker give his farewell in front of LED fucking screens? And I don't know if all of you out there have been on Thunderdome yet. I've been on several times already. And when you're on Thunderdome, You don't know where you are in the arena on the screen. That's why if you notice, when Paul Heyman is in front of some LED panels, you don't see like the people right behind him going like this. You suck. Fuck you. You suck. Fuck you. But you see them, they're like this. You don't know. You have no idea where you're positioned. So you imagine the Undertaker like outside walking around the rampway as he's leaving. You know, if there were live fans there, thank you, Taker, bowing down this and that. He walks by. If somebody's not looking close, man, it's what it is. There is no way, in my opinion, Undertaker is going to walk out on Survivor Series to give a final goodbye. Why? Is he terminally ill? We just had a 5-part series that pretty much kind of teased that he was done, even though he said, I don't think so. Plus, when that sweet Saudi Arabia events come around again, oh, we want Undertaker. No, if we did the final thing, oh, you don't understand. We want Undertaker. No is not in our vocabulary. You know, when we don't, no, you don't. I don't know if you understand. We want Undertaker. And Undertaker will probably work. My honest opinion, this is going to set up some type of tremendous beatdown at Survivor Series. And I know people are going to say to me, DT, no fucking way. People love all the times. Now, on YouTube, a lot of you are only enjoying this for 8 months. But going back to 1997, yeah, I've gotten some ideas wrong. I give ideas. You know, sometimes I make predictions. They're not 100%. But more times than not, they usually happen. Oh, I can't wait to get into what Tony Khan said about the Ladina Debonair. And I'm going to criticize Tony Khan today. I like Tony Khan. I think he's doing a hell of a job with AEW. But this interview today, if anybody's honest about it, what he said about Ladina Debonair, I honestly think what he said was some of the dumbest shit that I have heard him say yet. No reason for what he said. And I'll explain why later. And it's just opinion. But as crazy as this sounds, when I heard that they were going to have Undertaker at Survivor Series to celebrate 30 years and final farewell, the first thought that came to mind almost immediately is that Retribution is going to beat the living shit out of The Undertaker. The only problem is who ends up facing The Undertaker afterwards. Is it Ali? Is it Dijakovic? Is it someone else that is not part of Retribution yet? I'm not saying that it is. When I think about this a little more, I'll probably come up with better ideas than that. But my immediate thought was thinking of Undertaker, who was helping some of the younger guys. And you remember in those videos, he was working with some of the big men like Keith Lee and Dijakovic and others. I think somebody is going to beat the balls out of The Undertaker. And we're going to, for a few months, be under the impression that The Undertaker is pretty much all but dead. And then when it gets like closer to WrestleMania time, you'll see the lights go out, the lightning, the thunder, and special effects, and we're going to realize, and by WrestleMania, you will have live fans in attendance. We are going to have the vaccine very, very soon. You know, and this is not a diss on Biden. This is not a diss on Biden. But for the last couple of days, I was talking to a lot of people I know personally as to why they voted for Biden, why they voted for Trump, why they were against one or the other. And I'm very interested to see what Mish has to say on his end. But the one thing that kept being thrown at me, and I would hit him with an audible, was the number one reason people were saying, other than anybody but Trump. You remember anybody but Roman? Anybody but Trump. But everybody said, oh no, he is going to take care of coronavirus the right way. And I'm like, well, what do you mean by that? Well, he's going to ramp up testing. Well, where I live, I could go get a test tomorrow if I want. He's going to ramp up, the treatments and the vaccines. Well, wait a minute. The people that are coming up with vaccinations and treatments right now, I mean, nobody's firing them. Fauci and everybody else are still going to be doing what they're doing. It's not like they're going to bring in their own medical staff and start from scratch. And here's probably the most important thing. And again, this is not anti-Biden, but I want to make this point. This kind of interjects with WrestleMania. The word is that this vaccination is going to be ready by December, January at the latest, because they're in the final trials. And there's a few people online who have gotten the test study, who have been vaccinated, and they've tried to hit them with the virus, and their body is rejecting the virus, which is a good sign. My point is, when Biden becomes president, the vaccination might already be out. So a lot of what he's promising with coronavirus, we probably aren't going to have to worry about by January. So getting back to the Undertaker and WrestleMania, by WrestleMania time, they're already saying they're planning 20 to 30,000 people in attendance. You have a vaccination out for a month or two, especially since all the states will be handling their vaccinations differently. The vaccinations are going to be available already in Florida. So you're going to see a large number of people in wrestling. Now, hopefully we don't get COVID-20 by then, or COVID-21, but as of right now, WrestleMania, need not worry. Need not worry. There will be live fans again. Absolutely. There's already projected 20,000 plus for the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl is happening in, less than 2 months, around there? Or give or take a little bit? So, Undertaker, ain't no way that he's going out in the sunset at Survivor Series and that's it. Right before WrestleMania? Tell me how that makes sense. Tell me how you would waste, and I'm going to say it. Look, it's the 30th anniversary, Undertaker debuting at Survivor Series and that. Yeah, I understand that, but at the end of the day, WWE is a business. And you're not going to have LED screens of people crying when he walks away. And then meanwhile at WrestleMania, you'll have the theme shirt, you'll have this, you'll have merchandise, new merchandise, blah, 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 this and that. So I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. As far as Sting goes, Michael, I know we talked about it Wednesday. There's a lot of reports that Sting might make an appearance at AEW. And I think that's more of just based on some of how Darby Allin has been acting lately. It's a lot of reminiscing of Sting when he went Crow. So who knows? Hey, I'm all for it, man. I'm all for it. I mean, the funny thing about it is, if Sting returns, people need to remember his age, and people need to remember there's a reason why he hasn't wrestled. So maybe he can do a match again, and maybe he can't. So, for anyone out there that thinks that somehow he got some type of shot in the ass, that now I feel like I'm 30 again. No, that's not the case. So keep it in, obvious perspective. Just reel it in. If he appears, that's great. I saw people just literally losing their shit online that Sting might actually appear for AEW. And me, I usually just sit in the sidelines now. I don't mingle with many people, but I wait for other people to say, what do you think he's going to do if he shows up? Oh, man, could you see it now? I'm like, yeah, against who? Sting versus Cody? I mean, it would be interesting. I wouldn't complain about it, but what do you think's going to happen? Sting versus Kenny Omega? Some people are forgetting we're in 2020. Not 2005 even, with TNA. So shout out to Puffy89. Wow. He's in Connecticut, and they just went from phase 3 back to phase 2 because of positive cases. Don't tell me that. I'm going to Connecticut in 3 weeks. So don't tell me that. Hey, man, you know, again, it comes down to individual responsibility. You know, almost nobody I know has caught in COVID. I know one person who worked in a pharmacy, and it was fucked up because her mother was telling her, you know, because she has insurance with me, she was telling her, are you wearing your mask? You wearing your mask? You wearing your mask? She got COVID. And what ended up happening was my customer found out her daughter, this is early, this is like April, May. She found out that nobody was wearing a mask, or they were not taking it seriously. They wear it for a little while. Oh, it's a little uncomfortable. My nose, my makeup's running. And they would take it off, and the whole entire department caught COVID. You know, that's your responsibility, with all due respect. I understand some people who work in some environments, you know, it's very, very difficult, especially to protect the eyes if you're not wearing goggles, especially if you just rub them and it goes into your ducts. I get it. I get it. But for a lot of people out there, you know, like I said, it's a shame with what happened with the police brutality that led to a lot of protests. Because one thing that you don't hear the doctors ever say, because it's not a politically correct thing to say, and it'll piss off a lot of people. If we didn't have the hundreds of thousands of people protesting, think of all those COVID cases that would not have happened because of that. It's across the board. People in Florida sunbathing. I mentioned it Wednesday. There's a certain WWE personality who I will not mention the person's name. You go on this person's Instagram, and I counted 65 photos since June of this person in Florida, on the beach, in a restaurant, at a bar, at a tiki bar, taking the sun, going to a party, going to this, and no masks at all. And don't say to me, oh, maybe they took it off for the picture. There's no hint of any masks anywhere. There's some video, some beach video, and you look around and, hey, everybody, nobody's wearing a goddamn mask. So when I hear somebody gets COVID, you know, it's a risk. It's a risk. It's up to you, you know, but we live in a free country. So you have the freedom that if you want to be an irresponsible dope and then get sick from it, that actually is your right. I wonder how you're going to feel, though, is if you end up killing someone older because you inadvertently came in contact with someone. But that's why, like I said, you know, for me, I don't like wearing a mask. You know, kind of irritates me a little bit, but ain't no way. I get choked up sometimes when I see my parents because I really truthfully don't know. Tomorrow's not guaranteed. And the one thing that I vowed since this virus started is I am not going to put myself in a position where I could get this and then give it to my family. So a little bit of sacrifice, a little bit of distancing, working half at home, half in the office, sanitizing. I got sanitizer everywhere. Even sometimes when I'm done doing the show, don't ask me why, I got sanitizer right here. So, you know, I take precautions. I wear the masks. I wash frequently because I love my family, you know. But unfortunately, you got people out there that, you know, are just not taking it seriously. Look, I'll say this in defense of a lot of you out there who are younger. You know, you get the flu. Yes, the virus is much more catchy. But you could get the flu, you could get measles, you could get chicken pox, you could get gonorrhea, you could get AIDS. I mean, there's a lot of risk in this world. And when you hear that people under the age of, let's say, 40 have a 99.9% chance of recovering, you know, I mean, think about that for a minute. Hey, you want to go to the bar tonight? You know, this coronavirus. But guys, come on, man. We're all in good shape. 99.9% cure rate. That's better odds than getting pneumonia. You know, come on, let's go out, pick up, we'll get laid, blah, 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 blah. So I understand when people hear, you know, almost 100% cure rate, they're not going to take it seriously. But that sucks. That really does suck for Connecticut. And be safe. Everybody out there. I don't care where you live. All of you, stay safe. Definitely stay safe. Prince Albertz. What's up, Prince? How do I feel about 2021? Look, if I wasn't so annoyed with Trump for a while now, I would have been like, you know what, Trump, treat Biden like they treated you 4 years ago. They didn't transition. They didn't do a peaceful transition. Instead, they tried to do this Russian dossier, and they set you up, and they accuse you of all this stuff. Fucking do unto others as they do unto you. And I live by that sometimes. You know, people want to fuck with me, no problem. You know, I get my revenge in many different ways. But when it comes to the country, though, I don't condone that. Because doing that to Biden could fuck us all up. So I think 2021 is going to be a lot better than 2020 because of the vaccine. But this turmoil is not going away. It's not going away in our lifetime. There will be points where things will be calm for a little while. But you see, even now, you see some radical people on the left who are coming up with hit lists now. Not hit lists that they're going to hire a mafia guy to take someone out, but they're coming up with these lists that for everybody who, you know, went out of their way for Trump and this and that, never forgive them. Like, you got to follow them and take it out on them till the day they die. Then you got whack jobs on the right that think they're helping keep America great by causing revenge. This is not going away. That's why, like I said before at the beginning of the show, I'm enjoying my life. I'm enjoying the people that make me happy. I'm enjoying my hobbies that make me happy, all of you as well. And that's it. That's it. You know, I'm sorry if that sounds a little bit selfish, but I am not doing guts for other people now just to make them happy. You know, I mean, I learned very, very young, you want something, you got to go grab it. And, you know, there's opportunities I'm trying to get that I lost. I'm not going to get all those opportunities. That doesn't mean you don't try. You know, everybody out there, you know, never get swayed because if you want to do something, even if it's the podcast stuff, you know, there's a few of you out there who have DM'd me a lot, very frustrated doing shows for a couple of months and only have 20 people tuning in. You know, I've been there. It's not fun, but it took me. And look, I am never satisfied with my shows. I'm never satisfied. I always feel I could do better on another show, and you know, you should never feel like, okay, you know, I'm ready for the big time. Take advantage of the fact that you have a very small following right now to experiment, to test, to see what works, what doesn't work, and this and that. And organically, you know, it will build. You know, you want, I always believed you want people to appreciate you and your work organically. Because like I've said before, I'm starting to learn the game about YouTube. And there's a couple of places out there that have over 100,000 followers on YouTube, yet their shows get 800 views. You know, I mean, talk about like whacked out numbers during the election. How do you have 100,000 followers and only 800 views on a video? Now you realize that they probably paid people to inflate those numbers. I'd rather have, what is it, 16,500 of you crazy mofos enjoying the shows. Obviously, not everybody catches every show because I talk way too much. I got to tone these down a little bit. There's only so many hours in a week. But I'd rather have 16,500 crazy-ass motherfuckers just trying to have a little bit of escape and enjoy themselves and talk about things that we all like to talk about than have 80,000 and they just pass by. I don't want people to sign up just to add a statistic. I want people to sign up because they're enjoying what I have here. So, you know, you got to just keep at it. Keep at it. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. So anyway, so that's the deal with Undertaker and Survivor Series and WrestleMania, in my opinion. This Saturday we have Full Gear. I did the predictions on Wednesday. I will cover it tomorrow night. Eddie Kingston, who you know I have been showing love to for years and years and years. Me, I live in New York, so I've had I've been spoiled watching Eddie Kingston over the years. Sure, he has not been the number one guy for the most part, but he was always a guy that stood out a little bit. And, you know, when I brought up Lowlife Louie a long time ago, and I'm just telling you like another reason why I absolutely love this guy so much as far as his work goes. You know, a lot of you know this already, but some of you may not. You know, like Lowlife Louie Ramos, I was in his wedding party. And, you know, I lost touch with him, and, you know, I know he's doing well, and it makes me really happy. But I was in his wedding party. And, you know, I felt really out of place because, you know, other people that were in his wedding party were Homicide and others. And everybody was just totally cool, totally nice, awesome people. I felt out of place because I'm like, who am I compared to these people? I'm looking at people, you know, and I remember Homicide from the Doghouse, you know, which was a wrestling school, Bobby Lombardi here in New York. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because if anybody out there has heard me recently, now, yeah, I talked about Kingston when he worked for other promotions. I talked about him when he was doing his stuff with NWA. But if you notice, even before AEW signed him, I said, you know, the two people I would love to see take on Cody for the TNT title was Homicide and Eddie Kingston. You know, recently, since Eddie Kingston signed now, I said, you know, it'd be interesting to see if Dan Moff got a match. I understand the circumstances why that may not happen. But I said at least 3 times over the last 2 months that I'd like to see Homicide get one match against Cody for the TNT title, like the open challenge things. I'd like to see Homicide in there one time. Just one time. And just so you know, and this is why another reason Eddie Kingston went on Twitter. He did also a great interview with TSN if you want to check it out. But Eddie Kingston went on Twitter tonight, series of tweets, and what Eddie Kingston said was this: Saturday is for anyone I ever shared a locker room with, in the ring, outside the ring, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if I like you or don't like you, this is for you. It's for ECW. Because without ECW, I would have never stayed in love with wrestling. It is for Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert, who was the first wrestler to make me want to do this. For Kenta Kobashi, who is the greatest pro wrestler in the history in my mind. But this is for the DHS and our leader, Homicide. I will make you in New York proud because when I am world champ, we are all world champ. This is for Alex, for Tracy, for Chris Cash, for for Candido, JC Bayley, and Danny Havoc, for all the wrestlers who have passed. This is for the Kings Road, All Japan 90s style, for the 4 pillars of heaven of All Japan. This is for Mom and Dad on my Irish side and the family and the Puerto Rican side. To Bret Hart for being our champion when I was a kid. There are more, but just now I carry all of you with me Saturday. Now, you know, my predictions, you know, you heard me say that I don't think Eddie Kingston's winning that title. But, you know, when I say that I don't think a lot of people out there have any idea how insane this match is going to be Saturday. You know, it is going to be a match to remember. And Eddie Kingston, you know, we all knew, you know, and most of you knew from it, especially as recent as NWA, how awesome he was on the mic. But a lot of people never really focused on his in-ring work. And he's not your typical, you know, character main eventer. You know, you saw him walking down the street, you probably would never even think that he was a wrestler. But this guy's going to tear it up. And that's why, you know, when New York, us New Yorkers really, you know, just amp it up to another level, you understand a little bit more why. So it's going to be violent. It's going to be crazy. I don't know if it's going to be on the level of Omega and Moxley. I'm waiting for the people tomorrow night to go on Twitter. I feel uncomfortable right now. You remember that? When Moxley took on Omega, and they had some props. They were movie props. They weren't even real weapons. And there were people on social media, people with blue check marks. We don't want to individually make fun of anybody right now, but people actually wrote, I feel a little uncomfortable right now watching this. I swear to God, man, if I could have got away with it, I would have just mooned them and told them, and no one they cared. They're just like, please, shut the fuck up. Wrestling has always been violent, you know? My God, you see CZW and a lot of this stuff from their history, as far as you want to focus on the United States, you think of IWA and you think of some of the other promotions out there. And these people, I feel uncomfortable watching movie props. You imagine if they watch Michael Myers next year when Halloween comes out, that final one, whatever it is? I mean, what are you going to feel uncomfortable? I fucking hate those people. Not personally, but I fucking hate them. I can't tell you how many people I blocked over the last 72 hours. Not because I'm trying to break friendships because of politics, but, you know, I see people that I mingle with on social media literally rubbing in people's faces that Trump is going to be like, oh, you're fired. Okay. You know, that's how our government works. That's how voting works. But people tweeting 10, 15, 20 times, rubbing it in people's faces. The numbers are going down. Oh, the numbers are going down. Look, it just went down another 40, another 30. I'm like, you know, get a blowjob. Fuck off. So I just blocked them because I don't even want to see that negativity, you know? Because they whine, we got to all be better than this. We got to be together. You know, we all got to unite. You know, what's going on with our country is terrible. You know, that's why you got to vote, 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 vote. And then everybody votes and they get what they want. Now let's rub their faces in the shit. Seriously. I feel bad for using this term because I have friends that suffer from this, and I know a few of you out there suffer from this, so please do not take this personal. But do you have any, and you know what, respect to all of you out there who have been treated for it, but when you see what's going on, especially, forget what I've been saying for the last couple of years. Look at the last couple of days. There are so many people untreated for bipolar issues, bipolar disorder on social media. The Murrell stuff. Seriously, I think if there's a bipolar doctor that happens to be a wrestling fan, I honestly think he should do this. Okay, now I want to run some psychological tests. I'm going to show you, let's think of somebody good. All right, I'm going to show you Thunder Rosa. She's now in WWE, Thunder Rosa. Oh, I love her. Good. I can't wait to see her go against Asuka. I want to see this and that. Okay. Now I'm going to show you Miro. Oh, what a goof. Look, he goes to be a cast-off in another company. What a reject and this and that. Okay, let me show you Thunder Rosa. Oh, yeah, you know, even though they were going to make her a ref. Oh, I can't wait to see her in Carmella, and she's the bomb. She's my favorite. This and that. Okay, now I show you Miro. Look at that moron. He goes to AEW, where all the cast-offs go. There's so many. I don't know. What accent is that supposed to be? The bipolar doctor. I'm going to show you. I don't even know what accent that is. I try to be like generic now, but think about that. I mean, there are people out there. This is what it is. Oh, Miro, what a loser. He goes to AEW and look at they're fighting over video games. 3 days later. You know, we should not judge Miro on where he wants to go because he just wants to have a career and make money and this and that. If he's happy, then I'm happy. 3 days later, look at this goof. He has to color his hair and his wife is getting treated like shit because of this. This guy, he should go back to Bulgaria and stop wrestling. Let him play video games all day long and Twitch. 3 days after that, you know, I have to give Miro credit. This was, she's laughing inside. You want to say hello? She got no makeup on. She never wears makeup. No, this was the magazine when I paid tribute last week to Mike Frigerio, passed away. Lucha Mike. when I said that remember I told the story how I got the Mexico's Most Wanted into USA Pro for Frank Goodman. They wrestled Sabu and Jimmy Snuka, and I made the cover of the Mexican magazines. I have about 10 of these. When Mike got our promotion, everybody's like back then wanted to do everything possible for me to not be part of a wrestling promotion. But, I'm very proud of that. Absolutely proud of that. You don't understand. I bought 10 of these. And this, by the way, some people say, what's the date? This is from, I think, April 2004. The April 2004 issue. So, amazing. Almost 17 years ago. This February would be 17 years since that. So, makes me feel old. Because you sit back and you say to yourself, my God, I remember, getting involved with XPW originally in 2002 because of the hotline, the success of the hotline. I worked for ECW before it went out of business for a year and a half, pushing tickets for the New York shows. And that was 2000. That was 20 years ago. 20 years ago right now, I had a wrestling hotline and I would push ECW tickets. And as a reward, I would get front row seats to all the events and the pay-per-views. And it's about 20 years ago when I sent those infamous heroes to Paul Heyman and everybody else. And, I think it was Guilty as Charged 2000 when Francine simulated a blowjob on pay-per-view. It's my father's hero. You look at the card up close. It's my father's deli. I'm like, hey, this is awesome. So it's amazing how many years have flown by. And think about this. All that was going on. And that was the same year that we had the controversial election with Bush and Gore. Bush and Gore. Sounds like an X-rated horror film. Bush and Gore. Anyway, let's move on. We did an hour. We don't have much left to get into. For those that are into AEW, if you're interested, tonight they put a special dark episode online, I guess, going into the pay-per-view. So tonight they put online the following matches. Ricky Starks, most of them are squash matches, obviously. Ricky Starks versus Trevor Reed, Big Swall versus Tisha Price, Matt Sydal versus Christopher Daniels, Chuck Taylor versus Lee Johnson, Griff Garrison versus Ariel Dominguez, Brandon Cutler versus Michael Nakazawa. I want to see that one. Evil Uno and Stu Grayson versus Sean Maluta and Ryzen. So that is on tonight. All we have left for tonight is SmackDown, ratings, and Tony Khan about La Dina Debonair. And a couple of super chats. Brother! Yeah, somehow during the remainder of the show, Dream, I will get into some Hulk Hogan frame of mind, and we'll do it. Brother! So, my God. Have you seen the Iron Sheik's tweets about the election? There's only one person more fraud than the election. It is Hulk Hogan. Brother, I fuck you and make you humble. So, all right, let's talk about SmackDown. Remember last week? Remember this? Let me ask you a question. Why did Nattie get another opportunity this week? I mean, is the SmackDown women's roster that thin? I honestly thought tonight that maybe Bayley, because the match went on first tonight, that maybe Bayley is going to take out Nattie and she's going to insert herself in the three-way and then maybe get in the Survivor Series match, because Bayley off a Survivor Series kind of is a negative, But like I'm watching tonight, and then we find out that we're getting a three-way match tonight to determine another spot in the Women's Survivor Series team. Tonight it's going to be Ruby Riott, Nattie, and, oh, God, I'm drawing a blank. It was Ruby Riott, Nattie, and, oh, shit. Because the finish was so awesome, too. I'm drawing a blank. Oh, Zelina Vega. Zelina Vega. And I'm saying, like, wait a minute. I know Nattie was in the match last week because we made the what doesn't belong on the bottom. I mean, I didn't want to do it for this week because Zelina Vega, she actually wrestles better than what people think as far as her. She's been a manager for the most part for a while, so she's got to get back into the mode of wrestling, and little by little, she'll do a little better. I know a lot of people can't get past how small she is. Get the fuck out of here, seriously. I mean, I look. I still remember my debates with Mish about Riott. He just could not get behind Riott at all. Just could not believe somebody that small could take on a powerhouse, in a match. Suspension of disbelief. But the opening match tonight was Sasha Banks retaining the SmackDown Women's Championship, defeating Bayley. Sasha Banks made history tonight. And, I don't want to be nitpicking, but, when people out there rush to try to be first for a tweet fuck, I understand if you want to go to a whorehouse and there's going to be 20 horny guys there and there's only 5 women and the girl that you want is the hottest girl in the room, I could understand if you want to be first to blow your load because, you don't want to, go there when it's been, past go 10 times already, So I understand why you want to be first. There's a concert coming to your area. The tickets go on sale. It's not going to be no online, just in person. And you want to be the first one to get the tickets because you'll get front row. But I saw all of these losers tonight running to social media, going out of their way to talk about how Sasha Banks made history tonight. This is the first title defense that she's had successfully. And I'm saying to myself, okay, look, it may be nitpicking a little bit, but it was her first singles title defense successfully. She had a fucking long-ass tag team championship run with Bayley, where she successfully defended the tag titles over and over and over on TV. So yes, it is history, but it was just funny how so many goofs online omitted singles matches. And yes, Benjamin, she did defend the NXT title. Yes, I know people were probably focusing on the main roster. And look, let's be honest, whether you like Sasha Banks or you don't, one thing you have to admit, she came up to the main roster, 5 years ago, whatever it is, and she has won, 6, 7, 8 championships, 5 on Raw, the tag title run, the SmackDown, and so, 7 or 8. And as far as single star goes, when you realize that Sasha Banks is, I think, in the top 5 as far as talented women on the WWE main roster, and it takes WWE 5 years, 6 years, whatever it is, to give her one successful singles title defense, that is not, oh, look how far Sasha Banks has come. No, that is shame on you, WWE, for having to take 5 goddamn years for her to have a successful singles title defense. Not on regular TV, not just pay-per-views, period. Period. Her first singles title defense successfully tonight since she's been on the main roster. I mean, it's funny when people were making a big deal like, look, Carmella made history. She's the longest person holding the briefcase and never cashing it in. I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? If you think about it, you're breaking a record for futility. You're breaking a record for futility. And not only that, it's WWE's decision. WWE not allowing Carmella to cash in during all that time, that's not a badge of honor. That's a fucking joke. So this is all on WWE. It's nice after all this time. But if I was WWE, I would be pretty embarrassed with that statistic tonight. Match was very good. There were a couple of points where I think some people actually thought that Bayley had a shot tonight. I mean, honestly, especially with all the history with Sasha Banks and the mistreatment being a singles champion, I didn't think there was any chance whatsoever that WWE was going to take the title off of her tonight and kill that stigma. Just get rid of that stigma. I mean, I know it's predetermined, but, I'm sure psychologically that has probably insulted Sasha Banks for the last 5 years as well. Like, wow, this fucking company, doesn't even have any faith in me as a singles champion, and I can't even have one freaking title defense. So, yes, it is entertainment, but, it must have felt good tonight to no longer have that stigma. And for Sasha Banks fans out there, because I think a lot of you out there have come across at least 10 people over the years that go out of their way. Look at WWE, how they treat Sasha once she becomes a champion. She can't, they give it to her, but she can't keep it. Is it? So now those goofs could complain about something else. But after the match was over, you think maybe Asuka shows up. No. But who shows up? Carmella. Carmella, attacks Sasha Banks on the rampway, hits her with a super kick in the X Factor, leaves her laying, and now it seems the next feud after Survivor Series, hey, maybe they have a match before then. I don't know. But my big question right now is, where does Bayley go from here? That's why I almost feel like maybe you put her on the Survivor Series team. Maybe you have Bayley feud with Bianca Belair next. I know a lot of you out there are really drooling over the Bianca Belair, Sasha Banks matchup, and I agree. It's an excellent matchup to look forward to. But I kind of think many of you out there would probably prefer that more around WrestleMania time than right now. So maybe in the meantime, you have Bianca Belair and Bayley go at it for a month or two. Then, who knows, maybe Bianca Belair wins the Women's Royal Rumble and she challenges Sasha Banks for the championship at Mania. So the only thing is, will we get an attitude change on the side of Bianca or Sasha? But yeah, no, Big Baller and a few others are saying the same thing. Bianca versus Sasha at Mania? Yeah. I agree. I agree. So Bayley versus Bianca Belair would be a nice little feud as well. I mean, I'm just picturing the banter right off the bat. You think of Bayley and her heel promos and, the way Bianca Belair, her style of talking, she's going to eat up Bayley and spit her out. And I say that in a very complimentary way. I think that's going to be a fun feud. Carmella and Sasha Banks, hey, man, Carmella hasn't been on TV for a while. She hasn't just been on Instagram and doing beach videos. She's been training as well. So, I say, in my opinion, give Carmella a chance. Let's see how she is advanced in the ring, over the last, several months. And let's try not to think of the Carmella when she feuded with Asuka. Let's wait and see what happens. Just my opinion. But let's just wait and see what happens. So next we have a backstage segment. It's one of those Acme Insta feuds. Anybody that follows me back to the 90s. Back when I was doing my hotline, I used to talk about Acme Insta feuds. Now, where I got Acme from was from the Roadrunner, Wild E. Coyote, when it was always be like Acme Birdseed or Acme this. When an Acme Insta feud is almost like the Roadrunner cartoon where, you suddenly, you have this potion and Acme potion and suddenly insta-feud. Immediate feud. Insta-feud. And, Big Baller remembers the Acme insta-feuds. Never thought that would still have shelf life after all these years. We got one tonight with Jay Uso and Kevin Owens. Oh, they're in the back. Kevin Owens cracks a little joke about being a coffee gopher, Jay Uso for Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman, and Jay Uso's not happy. What'd you say? I was just kidding around, this and that. And then later on, Kayla Braxton tries to interview Jay Uso. Paul Heyman shows up. Did Roman Reigns approve this interview? Tribal Chief. And Roman Reigns not thrilled. Jay Uso originally, the hell with Kevin Owens. He is what he is. The hell with him. Roman Reigns, uber offended. Don't know why, but he's uber offended. And they're going to make Roman Reigns pay. So now all the geniuses out there are all tweet fucking about, oh my God, it's going to be Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens tonight. I'm like, no. I put in the preview on the YouTube channel. It's going to be Jay Uso and Roman and Kevin Owens. You kind of felt that was coming, especially with the quote-unquote friendship recently with Daniel Bryan and Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens would rather get more revenge on Jay Uso for what he did to Daniel Bryan last week. The spinal contusions. So we find out later on it's going to be a match between Kevin Owens and Jay Uso. Fine. No problem with that. Paul Heyman, I don't know, man. I enjoyed it tonight. Roman Reigns still, the storyline is excellent. And I brought this up Wednesday. And I tell you, I really appreciate, all the discussion Wednesday and the opinions in the chat room. Because, on the surface, that those diehard WWE fans out there, some of them with their one-liner insults and this and that, but I really didn't get any of that, which was great. And I had said on Wednesday, and everybody for the most part agreed as well, Roman Reigns and Jey Uso are killing it in that storyline, as is Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston for the reality side of it. But, when we were trying to compare both storylines and which one that we liked more, and I understand Wednesday is a different type of audience because it's an NXT AEW theme show, but I honestly enjoy the Moxley-Eddie Kingston feud that much more because there is a lot of reality based on it. Sure, the Roman Reigns Jey Uso is also reality based with family and this and that, but, WWE storyline is more, of their style, their what they do on TV. AEW is more about real emotion, more like everyday people, Roman Reigns, and I'm not trying to make fun of him, but Roman Reigns, you must call me tribal chief. I am the tribal chief. I am the tribal chief. I like the storyline. I just don't want it to get into Seth Rollins' territory, where Seth Rollins would say, I am the Messiah. I am the Messiah. I am the Messiah, the greater good, the Messiah, the Messiah, 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 Messiah. I mean, and what did he say before that? What did he say last year? No, I know what it was, Monday Night Messiah. And then you'd have the Raw announcers repeat it 15 times. What is the Monday Night Messiah going to do later? I don't know, but the Monday Night Messiah does not seem to be in a great mood. And, well, we'll find out later from the Monday Night Messiah. And look, there's a backstage segment. There's the Monday Night Messiah. And I'm the Monday Night Messiah. I fucking hated that phrase. Seriously. So I just don't want to hear I'm the tribal chief 100 times an episode because it gets too gimmicky, in my opinion. So, Rey Mysterio, he can't find Aaliyah. Can't find Aaliyah. Dominic, your match is next. You're not even dressed. Blah, 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 blah. Well, now I sound like the bipolar doctor again. What ends up happening, Rey gets attacked by Baron Corbin, kind of set up later on. And if you remember last Friday's show, I said Baron Corbin obviously is going to be in the Survivor Series match. You're going to see that little showdown with Baron Corbin and Sheamus. So that was pretty much predictable. But Baron Corbin and Rey Mysterio have a match tonight for a spot in the Survivor Series team. Dominic is at ringside. Seth Rollins comes down to observe the match. Things get a little bit physical towards the end. And what ends up happening, Murphy comes out, and little by little, I know this is the Wario glove or the Mario glove, but little by little, as I told you all many, many weeks ago, I know people laughed at me 7 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, when I said that Murphy and Aaliyah, it'll be like a Romeo and Juliet love storyline. But I also said a week or two after that, that little by little, Aaliyah is no longer going to look like daddy's little girl, wearing the sweaters and the jeans. And so now the glove is starting to turn into gel rag material. I need something to wipe. You see the outfit she's wearing tonight? It's coming. It's coming. She's not daddy's little girl anymore. But, they come out and Ray gets distracted because Aaliyah is with Murphy. And what happens? He turns around and he gets hit with the end of days from Baron Corbin. Baron Corbin wins. Seth Rollins is laughing and blah, 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 blah. And they go to the back. So now we know later on we're getting a match between Seth Rollins and Otis. So my original thinking is, okay, Seth Rollins came down to ringside during Ray and Corbin. So maybe somebody's going to reciprocate and cause Seth Rollins the defeat. And we'll get Otis in the Survivor Series match. And maybe Otis, we could see a little bit of fun with him and Braun Strowman or Keith Lee or somebody else. But no, we get Otis lose again, this time to Seth Rollins. And during the match, Murphy comes out and Otis gets distracted and Seth Rollins gets the win. So, I don't mind Seth Rollins in the Survivor Series match because, we'll see him go at it with AJ Styles a little bit. We'll see him go at it with Keith Lee and some others, and I'm looking forward to that. But, Otis, I know the storyline they're trying to do, that Otis is on a big-time losing streak, and I wouldn't be surprised if they reincorporate Mandy Rose in this storyline. That ever since that they split on TV, he hasn't been the same. The Tucker stuff doesn't seem to be going anywhere. It doesn't seem to be getting any revenge on Tucker anytime soon. So they're doing this where Otis is in a rut. Now, WWE's done this storyline in the past with others, where somebody will just go on an absolute losing streak, and then it'll turn into a storyline. And they'll be like, wow, you haven't won a match in a long time, this and that. And it's supposed to garner sympathy for Otis, that something's got to light a fire under him to get his groove back. I don't know if Mandy Rose is the answer, but this losing streak with Otis, he's not getting buried. For anyone out there that thinks he's getting buried, WWE understands how beloved he is with the fans, but they think this extended losing streak garnishes him sympathy. And who knows, maybe he wins the Royal Rumble. I'm not sure if I'm down with that at the present moment, but, now you have Seth Rollins in the Survivor Series match, and, Otis is back to the drawing board. You had Ruby Riott. I love the haircut. Ruby Riott defeats Zelina Vega and Nattie to get a spot on the Survivor Series team. I'm kind of fearing that, and we've seen it with all Survivor Series teams, you'll get like a 30 or 45-second segment where two people get disqualified, or you'll get two people, one person will get pinned, and then they're caught from behind and they get rolled up and pinned, and then another person hits a move and gets pinned, and 30 to 45 seconds, 3 or 4 people are eliminated. I think Ruby Riott will be one of those, unfortunately. Remember I said that. But I like the finish. You had Nattie put the sharpshooter on Zelina Vega. And while she had the sharpshooter on Zelina Vega, you have Ruby Riott put like an armbar submission on Zelina Vega. So they both had submissions on. And Nattie breaks her submission to go to do something else. And the minute Nattie breaks the submission, Zelina taps. Ruby Riott wins. So Nattie, just caught by surprise, gets pissed off. Cheap shots, Ruby Riott, but Ruby Riott advances. I liked it. So we'll see what happens. But just Ruby Riott in Survivor Series, okay, I'm fine with that. But are we going to continue this next week? Is Nattie going to be in a qualifying match again? I don't understand what the purpose was for her to be in this week. She lost last week, and they just put her in like no big deal. That should show you the current state of especially the SmackDown women's division. So, yeah. But, Andre Corbeil, shout out to you, my friend. Don't let them steal America. Look, man, I will let the process, work its way out. It reminds me a lot of 2000. I kind of thank God we didn't have Twitter and Facebook in 2000 because that went on for 36 days. These news medias love this right now because they know they're getting everybody glued into their networks. But, let me say something else about with the election. This is something, when I said earlier that, people were telling me various reasons why they voted one way or another. Let me tell you something else happened in this election that was pretty obvious, and I've brought this up before, but now I am 100% convinced by it. Have you heard anything about COVID in the last 2 days? I mean, if you Googled, you would have saw that we had 100,000 cases in the United States. But it's such a dangerous health risk. You haven't seen anybody talk about it. Nothing. Zero. Not a word. And here's the thing. What I am convinced about, this is what I'm convinced about. And honestly, is it a dirty tactic? Yes. But when you also think about it, it's kind of ingenious if you think about it. Jinx, where are they still talking about it, Jinx? I know you want me to shout you out and everything, but where did you all hear it from? Seriously. You might have heard a few people on social media. We mean New York City. New York City, I'm talking about like outlets. If you Google it, but I watched my local news today, saw nothing about COVID. I have not watched any major cable news networks. I have no interest in seeing what's going on right now. So, but let me make my point. I believe that a lot of Democratic states, I truly believe that about 4 or 5 months ago, they decided that they were going to use COVID as the reason for early mail-in ballots. And they made it sound so dangerous to even leave your house that some states, whether you ask for one or not, like Jersey, they would mail everybody a ballot. So even if I don't want to vote, I'm going to send you a ballot anyway. But I don't want to vote, I'm going to send it to you anyway. And what happened was you had tons of states mail ballots to everybody, whether they liked it or not. Now, me, when I got mine, I threw it in the garbage because I wasn't going to vote at all. And then last minute, I said, you know what, I'll vote for my local and, some lower, but I'm not voting for the president. And what happened was you had all of these states put the ballot in front of millions of people who had no interest in voting on either side, no interest in voting. Put it in their face. And a lot of people just tossed it aside. Then what would happen is 5-6 months ago, it was reported that Trump called disabled veterans suckers and losers. So even though he denied it, and there's no proof of it, they claimed he called them suckers and losers. So I guarantee there were tons of people in the United States that got very, very offended by it. That's why Biden, even though Trump denied it, Biden talking about he wants to beat the shit out of Trump for saying that, and he used it as recent as last week, even though there was no proof of it. My point is, you throw that out there, you got a lot of people in the United States who had no intention on voting. They hear the allegation that Trump said that. You know what? Biden sealed it, threw it in the mailbox. Then another allegation came out that Trump said this about doctors and said this about people and said this about that with no basis whatsoever. And every couple of weeks, a different accusation would come out. Somebody said Trump said this. And that was causing people to get that split-second decision. Fuck this guy. Mail the ballot out. Because the reason why I say that is because last week, right before the election, the number one search term on Google for at least 1 or 2 days was, how do I change my ballot? That's what I think happened. That's what I think happened also. The early balloting, I brought it up already. If all of you could go to the bank, you could go to the grocery store, if you could go, to the post office, if you go see your family, tell me how many times have you left your house since April? Hundreds? Dozens? So was it that risky to walk into a poll office and vote? I think it would be more risky to go to a grocery store or a supermarket and go down aisles and there's people there buying groceries and stuff like that. Because I guarantee you, when you walk in the polling booth, you're only in there for about a minute or two. You go to a supermarket and you're buying groceries, you might be in there half an hour. You go to the post office, you're in there 10 minutes. You go to the bank, you're in 10, 20 minutes because they only have one clerk. So that they used COVID as the reason for the early balloting. And as everybody got their ballots, you throw these accusations out there every so often to get people to just, on the emotion, for a split second, you know what? Fuck this guy. I'm just going to vote for Biden. Get this fuck out of the office. That's what I think happened. And to be honest with you, I know it sounds cold. It's kind of ingenious. You get people, to, get that emotion for a second and they vote against them. So, look, man, this is what, no matter what side you're on, one thing you could admit, there's some very intelligent people who know what they're doing as far as, manipulating people. And that's what it is. That's why, like I said, I do not give a shit about anybody but me, my family, my friends, all of us, and what makes us happy, and that is it. That is it. I'll go on the next 4 years without paying attention to politics. So, no, Mike, we're moving on. We're moving on. No, why did we get on this? Because my friend Andre Corbeil is in the chat, and I wanted to shout him out, and I forgot to mention that before. So anyway, so you really want me to talk about Seth Rollins again? No, but so Seth Rollins wins because Murphy inadvertently distracted Otis. In the back, Seth Rollins thinks that Murphy and him are back on the same page. And, Otis, loses the match. Rollins wins. Rollins is Messiah, disciple, blah, 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 blah. And Aew was angry that Murphy helped Seth Rollins. And she pushed Murphy, and he calmed her down, and he said to trust him that it's for the greater good. So now, you say to yourself, where is this storyline going? Is Murphy setting Aew up? I think about all of the physicality of Murphy beating the fuck out of Seth Rollins and vice versa. I mean, this isn't the lame Bully Ray joining Aces as 0.8s, getting his ass kicked for week after week after week. And then they reveal he was the leader, and he was just taking the lumps because it made sense and this and that. It was just moronically stupid. So I don't know where this storyline is going right now. I still think that maybe originally Murphy was using Aew to get back at Ray or Dominic, but then fell in love with her. That could be where they're going with this. But, one thing you see, she's not daddy's little girl anymore. And speaking of, bringing up sexiness for the wrong reasons, Lars Sullivan interview. My God, I truthfully think the reason why they had Michael Cole interview Lars tonight was to get people having flashbacks of Heidenreich and Michael Cole. I swear to God, there was no teasing of that during the segment, but Lars talking about bullying, and he started working out at 13, and then he bullied the bullies and blah, 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 and then intimidating the shit out of Michael Cole. And as I'm watching this, and you all know that I support Lars and I root for the guy, He's definitely grown up from, some of his stupid comments in the past, and I root for him. But I tell you, out of all of the segments they've done with him so far, I loved tonight's the most. Because, it's funny, people, he's a freak. That's what his character is. He's a freak. And some people only judge freaks based on how much they weigh, how tall they are, or if they just look like they're disfigured. Somebody who is intimidating and just really warped in their brain, and also has a big physical specimen to themselves, a physique, anybody could be a freak. But, he intimidated Michael Cole today, and I had flashbacks of Heidenreich. Of course, they're not going to do that, but obviously the reason why people had additional flashbacks to Heidenreich is because of Mitch. Let's be honest. Heidenreich, it was a character and, perceived to do something. But here, this is where the line gets blurry and, it was what it was. I enjoyed it. These segments are helping Lars. And you might remember about a month ago, I said, there's a lot of people that still don't realize how good Lars talks. Very intimidating. Like, he'll beat you up just with his words. I say that about Karrion Kross also. Karrion Kross could very intelligently make you feel like shit. I mean, like in a very professional way, tell you why he's going to just kill you. Lars, like the speaking and the intelligence doesn't match the physical part of it. I'm enjoying it. Very much. So, main event, Kevin Owens versus Jay Uso. Fun match. Basically, it was your typical SmackDown main event. But what ends up happening towards the end of the match is Roman Reigns' music hits. Another distraction. Jay Uso with a low blow and gets the win on Kevin Owens. And what you're seeing little by little is Jay Uso originally reluctantly wanting to join Roman Reigns, yes, for the sake of his family, but, like Kevin Owens in his promo right before the main event, the difference between Jay Uso and Kevin Owens is that Kevin Owens, the decisions he made on his own for the better of him and his family, not because someone is forcing him to. That's the difference between Kevin Owens and Jay Uso. By the end of the night tonight, now it's feeling more and more that Jay Uso, little by little, is getting on the same page with Roman Reigns. Jay Uso doesn't look like the reluctant person who doesn't want to fight this person, who doesn't want to do this, who doesn't want to do that, and that makes the storyline better. The only mistake that WWE is doing right now, and I don't know if you all thought about it the last 2 weeks, but I have. The only mistake that they have made, big time, is how come Jimmy Uso has not come out there to confront Jay for making this decision last week. Jimmy Uso ran in the Hell in a Cell to try to save his brother, and now his brother turns on Daniel Bryan, and Jimmy Uso, what is he voting? Like, and I don't even think anybody thought about that tonight. And Jimmy Uso should have been the first person, not Kevin Owens, not Daniel Bryan, Jimmy Uso should have been the first person to confront Jay Uso about this. And WWE is just turning a blind eye to that. And I think that is a big mistake. It's not about selling being choked out. Michael, I invite you, go back and watch the ending of Hell in a Cell again. All right? When Hell in a Cell ended, and this is not an attempt at an impersonation because it'll be absolutely horrendous, but when Hell in a Cell ended, Jimmy Uso wasn't like this. No, Jimmy Uso was looking over like upset at Roman Reigns. Sure, he was like, I mean, he's not in a wheelchair in critical condition in a coma. So go look at the ending of Hell in a Cell again. Jimmy Uso was awake. I mean, they should have done something like when he was in the back, he collapsed and got rushed to the hospital, you know? So, yeah. But I think WWE is making a mistake with that. And I think little by little, people are going to start catching on and saying, like, how come Jimmy Uso? Now, look, Jimmy Uso can end up showing up and joining up with Roman Reigns and Jay Uso as well. But it still doesn't make sense. If Jimmy Uso had no problem joining up with Roman Reigns, then Jimmy Uso would have been no reason for him to try to save his brother, and why would Roman Reigns choke him out? And if Jimmy Uso is all for this right now, you got to kind of clear that up almost immediately, because he was so concerned about the cage. Now he's like, shit, I got choked out, and my brother joins him anyway? What the fuck is that? So that's why they really need to clear it up. I always try to think one step ahead. But one other segment that aired on SmackDown that I enjoyed, mainly because of the sweater, they're trying to tease a little bit of friction with the New Day and the Street Profits. Big E, great singles run. Didn't use him last week. Today he's playing like the game of life or something on the floor. And I guess playing for money, and he won. So Street Profits show up, and they're trying to get a little bit of inside information from Big E, and Big E is basically teasing them. I tell you, Big E is a powerhouse. That guy's a freak too. But if you actually watch that segment again, maybe because he was wearing a sweater, but I was looking at, Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford, and then Big E. And they look like they were towering over Big E. Go back and watch the segment. I mean, I look at him, I'm like, wow, Big E looks awfully small against these guys. And yes, it's because he was wearing a sweater. But I loved the leather face sweater. I got to try to look online to see if that's available. So, look, as you can see, I'm always looking into finding some cool shirts or odd sweaters, or just something that I could wear off and on. And it doesn't always have to be a wrestling shirt, obviously, but I'm going to look online to see if I find that Leatherface sweater available somewhere. I'll post a link on Twitter in case anybody wants to get it. Hopefully, Benjamin, look, I wouldn't say that Montez Ford is a big guy. He is a tall guy. I mean, because if you look at Montez Ford when he's in the ring, and I'm not trying to criticize Montez Ford in any way, shape, or form. Montez Ford is tall. Montez Ford is not huge like this. But, when you see, the height, a little bit of the height difference at points, it made Big E look small, which is interesting. It's just the camera, the way that they were positioned. So, not a big deal. But, that was SmackDown. Not a bad show. They're really milking the spots for the Survivor Series team. And yes, they're only a 2-hour show compared to Raw that's 3 hours. But the funny thing is, Raw, that has an extra hour. You would think that's the show that they would have some extra qualifying matches. But no, we'll just announce all the women with no qualifying matches. You still kind of feel bad for Billie Kay a little bit. Billie Kay, she's trying to give, to the Street Profits tonight, her promo pic, and in the back there's a resume, and, they're basically telling her to keep it. I mean, I don't know what you do with Billie Kay. I honestly don't. There's got to be something else for her. And so far, WWE is pretty much showing that there isn't. And that's a shame. That's a shame. Because, again, you look at some of the women on SmackDown, and especially Carmella just made her return. Where does Billie Kay break through? She can't. She can't. You think she's going to break through and surpass Sasha Banks? Bayley? Carmella is even higher on the food chain right now. So, unfortunately, some people, yes, Michael, she could end up being a jobber for life, enhancement talent, however you want to look at it. And it is what it is, you know. But, yeah, not a bad episode of SmackDown. So, all right. It's an hour and 45 minutes. We will finish this up in the next 15 minutes. Before I get it, let's talk about ratings. AEW NXT this past Wednesday. Then we'll finish up. Now, you know what? Let's talk about the Tony Khan thing, because it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. It was a very weird interview with Tony Khan. I got to pull this up. Oh, do I even have it? Oh, my God. I don't even think I have it. Oh, I don't even need the notes. I don't even need the notes. You know what? I really do need the notes. Let me pull this up really quick. I have to share it with everybody. Let me see. Yeah, I found it. Okay, I got it. I got it. I accidentally deleted it, but thank God for the reverse button, the undo button. Tony Khan. Listen, I appreciate everybody who is convinced that these wrestling promotions listen to these shows. I know individual wrestlers that do. I know way back when I was one of 2 podcasts on the TNA ban list. But, you know, I honestly, truthfully don't know. I don't. But I will tell you this. I found it really fucking odd for Tony Khan commenting the way he did about something with Ladina Debonair, with Chris Jericho and MJF. Because that night when they did that segment, I praised the shit out of it. And a lot of other people praised it. Some people absolutely hated it. I totally respect whatever side you're on. But I was the first and only person at that time that said, because I did my show 5 minutes after it went off the air, I said the only thing that I would have changed is I would have had it as a dream sequence. Could have been either one of them, where they're looking and they start, you know, just waiting for their stakes and start, you know, you see like whoever, let's say Chris Jericho's talking and you hear more and more of an echo and you realize MJF is just daydreaming and they do the whole singing thing. And then you hear the waitress go, you know, sir, here's your steak. And, you know, he gets out of it. Or maybe Jericho's thinking the same thing as well. And I said, if it would have been a dream sequence, then the story would have been that it's all in their heads. It didn't really happen. And, I think that would have shut up a lot of complainers. So, no, Anthony Diaz, I can't reveal Mr. Mystery. I mean, honestly, and I feel bad that I can't. I'll say this for people that don't know, because a lot of you wouldn't even know this. We had a person in TNA that worked for TNA. Pretty high person also. And what happened was, you know, I was one of 2 people that were banned as far as TNA people. Hell, you remember Bully Ray wanted to pay for me to go to Florida and confront him in the ring to tell to his face some of the shit that I was saying. No bullshit. We had this little thing. It's all squashed now, but, and I defend Bully Ray all the time. You know that. Not because I have to. I don't have to call him tribal chief, but, you know, obviously things change over the years. But the thing is, we had someone who was a big fan of the shows, and he would give us tons and tons of scoops before anyone else. And the number one scoop, and it was hilarious because you had people like OneWrestling.com, not Bill Apter, but when Dave Scheer was still a part of it, Mike Johnson and Buck Woodward and some other jerk-offs over there. They just would not acknowledge it, would not accept it, just totally hated, you know, just hated anything that they did. So what happened is Mr. Mystery, and I got to put some of those archives back up. Once I get my server stuff straightened out, we'll start putting some of those old episodes back up. But Mr. Mystery would get in touch with me, and he would say to me, yo, just so you know, blah, 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 blah. And almost every week I'd be putting little scoops up that no one else had. Now, I wasn't going to be a geek like Ringside News and try to tease everybody, oh, big story coming up. I would just put it on the shows and then let all my listeners run with it. So one week I had, Mr. Mystery had told me that Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, and X-Pac are all going to be signed. They're pretty much done deal. It was signed with TNA, and they were going to be coming in, and they were going to reform the band. And I went on, I think, Breakfast with Blassie that time, and I brought up all this stuff, and, you know, didn't happen on TV or anything like that yet. And a couple of websites were like, you know, it's fake news. They didn't use fake news at the time, but they just said, like, that's unsubstantiated. So that ended up happening. Then there was something else with Jeff Jarrett. And then there was some spoilers and some title changes coming up, one after the other. And it just became a phenomenon because every week I'd be shouting out Mr. Mystery. But I vowed to this person that I would never reveal him because, you know, one thing, seriously, and I think this is what eats up people, you know, especially the people that hate me. And I say this all the time. You may think that I'm a jerk. You may think that I'm an asshole at sometimes. But one thing you can never call me is a liar. And my trust is my bond. You know, when people show me DMs of people talking shit about me, when people tell me things that, you know, even personal stuff, even things that I seen in person, whether it's XPW or indie shows or other things that went down, and somebody says to me, please don't say anything. I tell them, my word is my bond. And I keep my promise. And this person would have gotten into a tremendous amount of trouble if I would have revealed who the person is. And the reason why I still won't reveal him is because he's still involved in wrestling in a very big capacity. You know, I'm not going to say what promotion he's involved in now, but he is still involved with a promotion that is on television in the United States. So I'll give you that. But, you know, it's just, people tell me a lot of things, whether it's about me or about wrestling or about this or about that, and they tell me, please don't say anything. And I said, don't worry about it. So that's the truth. Can't email who it is. I can't. I really can't. Because like I said, I have a reputation that goes back to 1997. And my reputation is everything to me. That's why, like I say, even the people that despise me more than anything else, take note, they can never call me a liar with something. I mean, any claims that I make about people, you notice how none of them ever say he's full of shit, he's a liar. That's not true. You ever hear that? No, you don't. So I'm one of the rare people. I keep my bond. So, yeah, no, you know, Anthony, I could kind of like, I give you a couple of hints privately, but, you know, I really can't out him. I really can't out him. See, I just gave you a little tease. It's a person. It's a man. You know, he came on my show once. Remember we distorted his voice? People tried to scramble that shit, and Mish, I think it's when I first met Mish, pretty close. And I'm like, how can we scramble this guy's voice so, you know, nobody can unscramble it? And we ran it through a couple of different pitch programs that if you sped it up, he sounded like Diamond Dallas Page. If you slowed it down, he sounded like Scott D'Amore. If you put it in the middle, it sounded like Vince McMahon. It was just pretty funny, people trying to scramble who it was. But Mish knows who it is. Mish knows. I think Mish is the only other person that knows, to be honest with you. So, but yeah, you know, look, you know what? I still talk to him once in a while. I'll send him a little DM. I'll say, hey, man, you know, somebody brought up Mr. Mystery. You know, can I reveal who it is? If he says to me, no, then I got to take his word. So I promise you, Anthony, I will ask him if I can reveal it. And if he says it's okay, then I'll reveal it. You know, so that's the best that I'll do. Now, Mish won't reveal because Mish, my relationship with him is very, very solid. And, you know, he knows that would hurt my reputation. So he will not say it. But anyway, let's get back to Tony Khan, all right? Because I want to wrap this up. So, again, that night with La Dena Debonair, I said on the show clearly that it should have been a dream sequence. I know after that there might have been one or two shows that came up with that also, but it wasn't a story. You didn't see anybody in interviews bringing up dream sequence. It's nobody brought it up. Nobody. When Tony Khan went on the AEW Unrestricted podcast, you would have thought the idea of a dream sequence has been the #1 top story in wrestling for the last couple of weeks. Nobody's brought it up before. And when I read you his quote, it's weird. It's weird. It's almost, and I'll tell you, I'm not saying me. I swear to God, I'm not. Some of you may say me. Some of you may say Jason. Some of you may say JD. Some of you may say Lee, Mish, whoever. So you put whoever you want in that sentence. But I'm starting to think, for real, Tony Khan, extremely intelligent. Tony Khan, a lot of money. Wherever it's coming from, good for him. I don't care if it's father or him. It doesn't matter. But very, very intelligent man, very, very dedicated man, very, very passionate man, very, very skilled. But what I'm starting to feel about him is that when other people come up with ideas that are better than his, he gets offended by it. And almost has to put down other people's ideas. And I'm going to give you a really good example right now. When they talked about Ladina Debonair, he was asked, how did they come up with the idea? And he says, and I quote, Chris comes up with a lot of ideas, and like with all things, I think I like almost every idea Chris has, and it's great. And that idea, I thought it was great. And I still think that idea to get buzz on this match and build this story, it's brought a ton of attention. And then to follow up the town hall, which again, I would say is more of a conventional wrestling segment in a lot of ways, did incredibly well. Chris's ideas, so many of them are great. And what you see Chris doing in a lot of it is Chris's own ideas. I love working with Chris, putting together stuff for the show. And Chris has ideas for other people too. He's a phenomenal wrestling genius. Okay? No problems so far. Then the dream sequence comes up. And again, if this was a big story where people kept talking about it and other people saying, oh, there should have been this, that's different. But honestly, and I know I don't focus too much on other people's shows, but I truthfully believe that, you know, I was the first person to say it, write it, and I think I was probably the loudest voice about the dream sequence idea. And I'm very, very adamant that dream sequence would have been perfect. He says this. Tell me you don't feel a little bit of anger in his voice. And I quote, the one thing on this little grid of stuff that I really took exception to was Chris pitched a dream sequence. And it would have been a dream sequence where it would have started singing and it would have been like his dream. And I was like, no, we're not doing that. And he started laughing. We're not doing that. We can't do that. And I can't cannibalize a show like that. But I do love the idea of Chris and Max singing. So he puts on, but he thinks making it a dream sequence would cannibalize the show. I mean, you just went from talking about how Chris is a genius, comes up with brilliant ideas, and now he's talking about how a dream sequence would have cannibalized the show. That's a pretty harsh word. Why would it have even been brought up in the first place? Are you bringing up other ideas that you have said is not a good idea that Chris pitches? So why would you go out of your way to do that? I truthfully think that that was more intended for everybody online who said this dream sequence idea and explained why it would have been a much better idea than this. Now, here's where, I mean, honestly, I don't get to say this too often, but I think Tony Khan is way off the rails on this. Check this out. If he could have done something different in Ladino Debonair in hindsight, and I want you to picture this. He said he would have done it in the ring. He would have had it where, yes, it would have been challenging to do, and they could have even taped it in the ring, but he thought that it would have been a better segment if it was in the ring. Now, think about all of the production that they did until 2:30 in the morning and all the different camera shots and a lot of retro 30s, 40s, because it was, I think it was Sammy Davis Jr. and Frank Sinatra, I think, originally did the duet. So he thinks that doing it in the ring, now, I don't know how you could have pre-taped it with a live crowd there, but even if you do it in the ring, you lose all of that satire and dedication and tribute to what Sinatra and Sammy Davis Jr. did. So I'll be honest with you, man. You go check out this interview. Obviously, I can't play clips of it because I don't want to get copyright issues. But, you know, you don't hear Tony Khan bringing up other ideas that he shoots down at Chris pitches. But it was when you hear him reacting to the dream sequence, he sounds like he gets mad, you know, and I personally think that Tony Khan, without a doubt, definitely checks out other people's thoughts online, whether it's podcasts, social media, and I have no idea if he listens to this stuff. But you go back and you watch it, and it sounded like that he went out of his way to like tell everyone that that would have cannibalized the show. Just think about that word. It was very, very weird. Very weird. I don't know, man. That was fucking weird, to be honest with you. So, anyway, let's finish up with ratings. Now, obviously, the numbers were going to be a little bit down from last week because of the election coverage. We already addressed the goofs earlier about the top 50 stuff. But anyway, you had AEW beat NXT this week. AEW scored a 717. NXT scored a 610. I was a little bit higher on my numbers. I tell you, 1.3.5 million under the circumstances, not bad as far as wrestling goes. But NXT, unfortunately, when I get into the quarter hours, you'll see the same trend that I talk about in the past. AEW, it's interesting. AEW seemed to have maintained their audience for pretty much the whole show, especially when I do this. You'll see what I'm talking about. So anyway, let's get into AEW first. Hour 1, 702,000 viewers. Hour 2, 732, for a composite of 717. The opening quarter of MJF and Wardlow versus Sammy Guevara and Ortiz did 707,000 viewers. Just so you know, and I know I'm going a little out of place, but I want to point this out. On the flip side, you had Ember Moon versus Dakota Kai. They opened up with 723,000 viewers. So wrestling opened up with over 1.4 million viewers, and more fans were watching NXT than AEW. Just want to point that out. But after the first quarter, totally different story. So first quarter for AEW, 707. The second quarter, which was the Kenny Omega interview and then a match with Miro versus Trent, the rating dropped from 707 down to 656. That was pretty much tied for three different spots throughout the night with a 50,000 viewer drop. They were only winning 1,000 viewers of the biggest drop of the night for AEW. The end of that match, and then a couple other segments hyping up the pay-per-view, went back up to 707. So as the match went on, they started to increase viewers. And here's a case where you could tell that viewers were turning away from Kushida versus Cameron Grimes and tuning into Miro versus Trent. Because you know, when I bring this up every week, most of the time when you see a 60, 70,000 viewer increase, you don't see a 70,000 viewer decrease on the opposite side. Many times they don't coincide. In this case, it did. So they did 707 for quarter three. The fourth quarter for AEW, which was the promos for FTR and the Young Bucks, Team Taz's promo, and then the beginning of the Young Bucks versus Private Party, the rating went up from 707 to 739. The end of their match, the Young Bucks versus Private Party, increased even more, up to 762. Eddie Kingston and Jon Moxley's promo and the video for Pac went down. Again, 50,000 viewer drop. Biggest drop of the night was, believe it or not, the main event. Went down 52,000 viewers. 51,000 was Miro versus Trent in the beginning, and also the Pac video, Moxley and Kingston's promos. So that quarter did 711. Nyla Rose versus Red Velvet. And then you had the Kenny Omega Hangman Page hype video. Interesting. Rating went all the way up to 752,000 viewers. Second biggest quarter of the night. Interesting. That is very interesting. Main event. The Dark Order versus Cody and the Gun Club. And Cody's promo and the Darby Allin, I don't think you could call it back and forth, but the rating went down. The final quarter for AEW went down 52,000 viewers, the biggest drop of the night. They scored 700,000 viewers to close out AEW. If you remember my discussion on Wednesday, I was very confused why AEW chose that match to go off the air. But they did. They still did a decent rating. So now we go to NXT. Hour 1, 657. Hour 2, 563 for a composite of 610. Opening quarter, Ember Moon versus Dakota Kai was a very strong 721,000 viewers. Remember when I opened up about Cameron Grimes? Well, check this out. Cameron Grimes versus Kushida, the beginning of that match, the rating went from 723 down to 672. 51,000 viewer drop. The rest of that match, which took up quarter 3, went down from 672 to 600,000. So Kushida versus Cameron Grimes, the NXT rating went down 123,000 viewers. That's about, 15, 18% of their audience from that night? And the third quarter, you see that a lot of those viewers went to watch AEW. So quarter 3 for NXT had 600,000 viewers, and it doesn't get much better than that. The Killian Dane and Drake Maverick versus Everrise, which really never happened, and then you had the Pat McAfee promo with Oney Lorcan, Danny Burch, Pete Dunne, and then Killian Dane at the end. The rating went up slightly to 632. Tony Storm versus Shotzi Blackheart and the Candice LeRae antics with the tank. The rating went down slightly to 610. The bulk of the match dropped to 610. The final part of the match and the tank stuff and that footage, that went down even further to 570. The Timothy Thatcher segment in the ring with August Gray and Hakeem, and the Xia Li promo and the Rhea Ripley vignette, the rating continued to go down, went down all the way to 522,000 viewers. And in the main event, a Velveteen Dream versus Tommaso Ciampa, rating increased slightly. It only increased to 551,000 viewers. That's how NXT went off the air. So just to do this so you could just get an idea as far as like a graph, my hand version of the graph, AEW will do each quarter. 707, 656, 707, right back where they were. 739, 762, 711, 752, 700. So again, remember they started with 707. They finished with 700. So they finished pretty much where they started, which shows you, again, let me do that one more time. You see how they maintain their audience. 707, 656, 707, 739, 762, 711, 752, 700. So they were not too bad. NXT, on the other hand, 723. Okay, 723. 672, 600, 632, 610, 570, 522, 551. No, Eddie Lunchmeat. I didn't say tonight. I said on next Wednesday's show, I will do the footage of the Aflac Duck. For people that don't know, on Wednesday I made a promise. I used to do an impersonation of the Aflac Duck. I haven't done it in about 10 years. And that's when the duck would yell, Aflac. I could do it perfect. When the controversy with Gilbert Gottfried happened, and they were looking for there were tons of people that were really trying to push me to apply for the job. So someone super chatted me and told me to do it. I can't do it at midnight with people sleeping upstairs. So what I'm going to do is this week, I'm going to, by myself, I'm going to take my cell phone. I'm going to put the mount on my dashboard in my car, and I'm going to go in an area where there's nobody around. I'm going to sit in my car, hit record, and I'm going to do the Aflac impersonation. I'll save the video, and then next Wednesday, I will share it. If I can't do it anymore, because your voice changes over the years, then I'll pull one of the archived, and I'll share it with everyone. But something tells me I'll be able to do it. I mean, I don't think my voice has changed all that much. Hopefully my voice is not too strained, because again, I'm doing a show tomorrow night, the AEW pay-per-view recap. Sunday is the Q&A. Monday is Breakfast Soup Raw. Tuesday is Patreon Breakfast Soup. Wednesday is Wednesday Night Don-O-Mite. And next Thursday, during the day, is probably, if we know who the next president is, next Thursday afternoon will probably be Mish, myself, and Kevin doing a discussion about the election. So, I'm going to have like 8 straight days of shows, so hopefully I don't strain my voice, but we'll see. We'll see. But anyway, everyone, that is it for me tonight. And I want to thank you all for tuning in. Once again, no, Anthony, you're not just a someone. You're not just a someone. Anthony Diaz is such good people, man. He'll trade it for a good massage parlor story. I don't have very good massage parlor stories other than the one where I got the 4 flats. If you want me to tell that story again, I'll tell that story again and get out of here. For people that don't know, all right, I'll tell it really quick. Take 2-3 minutes. True story, no BS. When I was in my early 20s, I had come into some cash. Somebody was babysitting, and me and my friend were hanging out at this house. And what happened was, you might remember the rap group Eric B. and Rakim. I was big time into hip hop at that time, just everybody. Mobb Deep, Dougie Fresh, Public Enemy, Eric B. and Rakim. So what happened was, me and my friend Joey, we were both fooling around with these 2 girls. And one of them was babysitting. And the girl I was dating at the time, her name was Susan. And we went over this person's house, and she's babysitting. And, I basically started hanging out with this girl on the couch. And my friend Joey went into the bedroom with this other girl. So we're hanging out, and about a half an hour later, my friend Joey calls me over. And the funny thing is, for anybody that's ever into Family Guy, you remember the episode where Bill Clinton is with the father? What's the father's name again? Oh God, I'm drawing a blank. It gets late, and you know what it is? It gets late, and my brain gets a little foggy. Who's the father in Family Guy? Come on, Peter Griffin. Remember the episode? We're in the limo, and they see the pig. Come on, Peter, it's just the pig. And Peter would be like, hee, hee. Just picture that. And we did that in like 1990. And what happened was, Big Daddy Kane was awesome too. Oh my God, Big Daddy Kane, smooth operator. And I got some freestyle of Big Daddy Kane that he did in a New York radio station over here. I taped back in the early 90s. No one has it. I got to share it one day. But anyway, my friend calls me over, and he says to me, he goes, yo, there's jewelry and cash in the dresser. I'm like, no. And he's like, yeah. He's like, should we take it? Now, again, think of the Family Guy episode when he's like, come on, Peter, it's a pig. It's a little pig. And Peter's like, hee. We did the exact same thing. So he's like, we got to get out of here, though, because we want to be long gone, especially when these people come home, they realize the stuff is stolen. So, and for anybody out there that doesn't know this story, it's a fucked up story. And trust me, it leads to a funny ending, but the middle part is really fucked up. So my friend Joey's like, I'll just take a little bit. So I'm like, well, how am I going to know when you did it? He's like, I'll give you a code. You'll know. So anyway, I'm on the couch and he's in, the bedroom. And then the two girls were in the kitchen. They were like talking, having a cigarette or something. And my friend Joey goes back in the bedroom. And the girl had said to him, like, what are you doing in there? And he's like, no, I'm just blowing my hair or drying my hair. So he said something really stupid that didn't even make sense. But what he was doing was he was trying to get into the dresser without anybody realizing it. So he obviously got something. And he walks into the living room and he looks at me. And if you remember the Eric B. Rakim's song, I Know You Got Soul, I know you got soul, you got it. So he looks at me, he goes, I know you got gold. And I realize he got it. So we left. He gets into my car and he opens up his pockets and there's a wad of cash like this. And there's a whole ton of gold. And I'm like, Joey, what'd you do? What did you take? He said, I took it all. I don't care. He took it all. So now we don't know what we're going to do with it. So it was like, I think it was like a Friday night. So we knew of a hock shop in Maspeth, Queens. And if you want to do an old search on newspapers, just go back to around 1990 and just type in the search box, Maspeth piano teacher pedophile or Maspeth gold seller pedophile. What happened was we always, whenever we went to a hock shop to sell like jewelry and stuff that we would get, we would always go to this guy right off Grand Avenue and 69th Street in Maspeth, Queens. So the next day we're going to go and we're going to sell the jewelry and get the cash and do whatever. So we go to the jewelers, and this guy was also a piano teacher. He had the jewelry store on the first floor where he would like buy and sell and stuff like that. And then the second floor, he would do piano lessons. And you'd have to ring the bell and get buzzed in. Like you couldn't just walk in. So we ring the bell and he buzzes us in and we're like, we have some jewelry we want to sell. He's like, all right, have a seat. And as we're sitting down, we see this little kid walk down the stairs from the piano lessons and he was crying. We didn't think anything of it. So we wait for the guy. He comes down and he sells, he buys the jewelry off us, gave us like $500 or whatever. And we leave. So a day or two later, one of my friends calls me, my friend Craig, and he's like, yo, put on the news. And now I'm getting nervous because, we had sold this jewelry. The guy got busted. And we put on the news and you see the cameras right on 69th Street and Grand Avenue. The guy got arrested. What happened was this guy was molesting some of the piano children, the students, that he was giving piano lessons to. And I swear on my mother, the health condition of my mother. I don't swear on my mother. And I know it's an immature thing to do in the first place, but I was brought up that if you ever swear on someone, you really are telling the truth. Like my mom, to this day, if I tell her something, she'll say to me, did you vote? Yes, I vote. Swear on Nattie. That's my grandmother, her mother, that I beloved. Like she'll tell me, swear on Nattie. Like if I swear on someone, I was brought up, you're really telling the truth. So anyway, what ended up happening was across the street, they had a 1-hour photo shop. And apparently this guy was taking pictures of some of these students without clothes on, or he was grabbing them and stuff. And this, I would love to say the P word, but I'm not. Not prick, but this prick actually, with the disposable cameras, because you'd buy those Kodak disposable cameras in the stores, he actually walked the camera across the street to the 1-hour photo shop. They developed the pictures, and as it went down the chute, they see these kids, and they realize, they look to see who dropped off the camera. It's the piano teacher, the guy selling the gold. So, no, not pussy. It almost rhymes with Aflac. So anyway, it's almost like, sounds like Padlock and Polar Bear. So, but anyway, so the guy got arrested for molesting kids. When we saw it on the news, he got arrested. We thought we were in trouble because we had just sold all his jewelry to him 2 days before. So we find out he's a pedophile. So anyway, the following Saturday, we buy Screw Magazine. And if anybody doesn't know what Screw Magazine is, even if you don't live in the United States, go on Google and just type in Screw Magazine and just look it up. Screw Magazine was a newspaper, maybe it's still in business, but Screw Magazine was a newspaper that you could get in the 80s and the 90s. And they would have a section with all escort services, whorehouses, escorts. You go to people's houses and prostitutes, but it was regular college people who were just, also doing this on the side. But you would see listings everywhere. Even though it was illegal, prostitution is illegal in New York, Screw Magazine would have everybody there. Massage parlors, didn't matter. So we buy Screw Magazine, and we find this Chinese massage parlor on College Point Boulevard, College Point, Queens, only about 15-minute drive where we live. So we decide, okay, we're going to go get massages. And then, after the massages are done, based on what they have to offer, maybe get a little bit, dessert, be the nice way to put it. So we go there on a Saturday, or it was either, no, you know what, it was a Sunday. It was a Sunday. And we got there very, very early, and we couldn't find a place to park. So there was an auto body shop right next door, and it was closed. So I was like, all right, no big deal. I had a cheap beat-down Cutlass at the time. I'm like, all right, I'll just park in the parking lot. There's nobody here or whatever. And, we'll go, and we had the wad of cash, so it didn't matter. We park in the parking lot. We go into the massage parlor. We get massages. And then my friend Joey says to me, he's like, Blaz, because that was my nickname at the time. He's like, Blaz, give me 50? He didn't have money on him. He's like, can you give me 50? I'm like, for what? He's like, I want a happy ending. So, he wanted, if you remember Mortal Kombat, I think it's finish him. He wanted to, get finished. So after my massage was done, the girl is like, you want happy ending? And I'm like, no, that's all right. So I'm waiting in the waiting room. Meanwhile, he's getting his knob, whatever. And so we get massages. He gets laid. We pay it. We leave to go back to the car. And the car has 4 flats. 4 flat tires. We look over, and the auto body shop, they must have opened at like noon. We look over, and the body shop is open. And the guy walks over to us. He's like, man, that sucks. You got 4 flat tires. You want us to fix it? I mean, we had no proof. But we were like, these motherfuckers either took the air out of the tires or, slashed them. I think in hindsight, I think they just took the air out of the tires because I was just like, I just finished getting a massage. My friend just got laid. So we weren't paying attention. They took the tires off of the things, and I think all they did was just fill them up with air. And they charged us to fix 4 flats. They charged us like $100-something bucks. And to this day, I'm convinced that it was the auto mechanic shop that gave me 4 flats. So I would have to pay them to fix them. And I think all they did was just, they like pretended like they were fixing a flat, but, nobody was looking. It was like, and the tires just inflated. So, the masseuses, when you used to go, they would be usually in their 20s, sometimes 30s. One time we went to one in Forest Hills, and the girl was probably around 40. But usually I would say 20s, sometimes 30. Usually 20s, though. Majority of them would be, like college students or, I didn't go often because I was very self-conscious, too. I mean, I'm still very self-conscious, but back then, I would always, just have the fear that somebody would make fun of me or, I wasn't, doing my job all that well. And I just, I would get very shy. And massages were great. I mean, she would just step on your spine and and you feel great after. But I'm telling you, if you want a good laugh, go do a Google search for Screw Magazine and type in 1990s. Just look at some of the pages, and then just picture a Guido goof like me back when in my 20s, going to these places. It's pretty wild. I even think they used to talk a little wrestling in there too. I kid you not. So I'm telling you, you will appreciate looking it up. Screw Magazine, type in 1990s. If you could see specific issues, focus around like 1988 to 91. 88 to 91, because that's the period for the most part that we used to go. So I'll never forget, we went to one place and my friend was an electrician, and we walked in there and the lights were off. And I remember my friend had said to the girl, like, what's wrong with the lights? She's like, I don't know, something wrong with it. My friend took out a ladder, goes on the thing, he's playing with wires, fixed it, everybody got laid for free. No BS. So crazy, crazy stuff, man. But go check it out. You want a good laugh, just imagine being able to go to your local grocery store, paying like whatever it was, $3 or whatever, and you're looking at it. Basically, you'd have people that would go to your house. I never, ever did that. I always, like fantasize, like having someone go to my house or whatever. But the only time I ever really got myself into trouble is when I joked around about Jasmine St. Clair. I regret that to this day. She is an awesome, very cool chick. And at the time, I thought I was a wise ass about XPW and everything. And next thing I know, I got Russian mafia calling me up. So if you out there don't know the story with that, I'll tell you this, since we're 3 minutes away from 2:30, not the time, but the length, and we'll get out of here. When XPW came to the Northeast in 2002, at that time, Jasmine St. Clair and Rob Black were having a huge feud. So I was working for XPW. I know the haters hate when I bring up these stories, but I think this is a story you'll get a kick out of. Some of you know it already. So at the time, I was running wrestling-news.com, and this was 2002 or 2000. Yeah, it was 2002. And I think we had just done the first Hostile Takeover, the first event, or right before the first event, and somebody sends me an email and says, Jasmine St. Clair's on an escort service. She's listed as an escort service. Now, you got to keep in mind, this is right after ECW went out of business. So Jasmine St. Clair, everybody still knew her being with the Blue Meanie. So I look it up, and I see that you can hire her. And she was feuding with Rob Black at the time. And because I was so enamored with being involved with a wrestling promotion, I thought I was a wise ass. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get the money together. I'm going to hire Jasmine St. Clair, but instead of her taking me out, being my date at a dinner, I'm going to give her a broom and sweep up all the glass in the ECW arena. Because the back of the ECW arena was always known. They had the big parking area, and you're running over things, and you realize that there's a lot of glass on the floor, and I got to drive back to New York. I don't want to take the chance of glass getting in my tires. So I said, I'm going to hire Jasmine St. Clair, and I'm going to give her a fucking broom, and she's going to be the XPW maid for the night, and she's going to clean all the glass. So I say this on my hotline, and it hits the net. And I was joking, but I was also kind of serious about it, because I was going to videotape it too. 2 or 3 days later, I get a phone call in my office from some guy, and in a Russian accent, asking me if it's me. And I said, yeah, who's this? I thought it was a customer. And he's like, just giving you this one warning, this one opportunity. If we hear the words Jasmine St. Clair come out of your mouth once again, you're going to be the one cleaning up the glass. And you're not going to use a broom. You're going to use your tongue or something like that. And I'm like, one side of me wants to say like, fuck you, go fuck yourself. Another side of me got scared shit. And thank God that side kind of like came out. And after that, I was like, no, not mention her again. Then Frank Goodman, I became friendly with Frank Goodman because we had to borrow his guardrails. No, we had to borrow the guardrails from Frank for XPW. That's how I met Frank originally. And Frank heard about the Jasmine St. Clair story, and then he starts telling me, he's like, yo, I hear these Russian people are after you. And I'm like, oh, my God, this is funny. So that's a true story. True story. If you do Wayback Machine, if you go on Wayback Machine and go to my website, wrestling-news.com, and you look for Jasmine St. Clair, you will see the article. And in the article, I think I might even have said something about hiring her for something. But yeah, that was crazy, because to this day I have no idea who called. But in latter years, I found out how cool she really was. A lot of people, especially at the time with the Conan Drive, and some very generous people. I always think of Pitbull Gary Wolf, one of the most generous people, offering items to give away to raise money for the transplant. And there was a lot of people that were telling me, like, she's good people. Yeah, she was involved in the adult industry. That doesn't make her a bad person. And I realized that, me thinking that I'm a cool wise ass, maybe just trying to impress people, and I definitely should have kept my mouth shut. So, yeah, Dimitri, are you de Blasi? I'm telling you right now, if the words Jasmine St. Clair come out of your mouth again, not only are you going to be cleaning up the glass, you're going to pick it up with your fucking tongue. You stupid motherfucker. Who the fuck you think you are? I don't know what I sound like. So anyway, everyone, it's been real. It's been real. I got to get myself some sleep. So I want to thank you all for tuning in tonight. Before you go, if you enjoyed the show, please give it a thumbs up. Hit that like button. If you're not a subscriber yet, I would appreciate it if you subscribe. And remember, next to subscribe, there's like a little bell. Click that bell. And then what will happen is when I do schedule shows or I upload shows, you'll be notified immediately. And remember, I'm doing a Q&A on Sunday. I don't know exactly what time I'm going to do it yet, but you'll get notified right away. And you still have a chance, to be part of it. In fact, I know those live right now, you won't be able to see the link, but I'm looking at the timestamp. It's 2 hours, 32 minutes. And when I go like this, suddenly that link will pop up. So I'll add the link to the episode so you'll see it, you have until Sunday, I would say, in the morning. So this way, I have enough time to prepare. So, but everyone, have a great night. If you're going to watch the AEW pay-per-view, enjoy it. I do still feel that it's the most stacked card that they have had so far. I'm really looking forward to it for various reasons, and I think the pay-per-view is going to be flat out awesome. Hopefully we don't have any injuries. Hopefully we don't have any, issues. Shit happens sometimes, but I'm really looking forward to it. So everyone be well. Much love as always. I'll catch you all again tomorrow night with your Full Gear pay-per-view recap. I know. 2020 has sucked. But, I think 2021 will be a much better year, regardless of who's president. So, all right, everybody, take care. Have a great night. All the best. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Ciao.